once again to flourish this industry, as already they are doing a lot, but we need to do more. We need to do it for the country, we need to do it for everyone. I'll just give you an example of my company. We are producing Xiaomi and Techno phones in Pakistan. Xiaomi global number 3 brand. And today's date, Xiaomi is geared up for exports from Pakistan. They are just waiting for the incentives from the government of Pakistan. Today, Airlink is producing almost 500,000 handsets per month and is the market leader in mobile industry, and all phones are smartphones. So we are trying to do our best, and we request you to do your best, and we stand with the government, we partner with the government, we are partners together. We have one goal: to take our country to next level, to have more exports and to come out of debt. Thank you very much everybody here for listening me. Thanks a lot for all the stakeholders.
Also held through this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also now like to invite, representing PMPMA, Mr. Abdul Rahman. Can you please come on stage and also say a few words on the occasion? I believe Abdul Rahman Sahib is not with us today. He missed his flight. I'm so sorry to hear that. All right, we're going to be moving on, and we're going to now go ahead with another one of our very important partners, powered by Jazz. Mobile Summit Pakistan is, of course, something that Jazz is also very closely associated with. And as Ali mentioned in his address as well, they have supported the 5G Innovation Lab. And along with Techno, they are also building the industry-academia linkages of Pakistan. And somebody representing NAS today, and of course being knowledge partners with this event as well, we're very proud to join hands with Techno, Mobile Pakistan and Jazz for such great initiatives that have been taken, and it is by the remarkable team at Jazz that have made this possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite the Chief Data and Strategy Officer at Jazz, Mr. Ali Nasir, to come forward and say a few words on this occasion. And I'm so glad that the applause is far better than previous ones. I think you're waking up now, but if not, there's coffee and tea to help you do that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ali Nasir.
And I believe today is going to be an exciting day because, as has been mentioned, we have everyone involved in the mobile ecosystem in one room today. So we're either going to walk out very happy or we'll be at each other's throats. Let's see. Extend a warm welcome as one of the hosts to the Honourable Minister for IT, Dr. Umer Saif, and of course the esteemed Chairman PTA, Major General Retired Hafizur Rahman. And I'm grateful to our fellow sponsors, exhibitors, and of course the organizers, Brand Spectrum, for holding the event. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start off with a bit of reflection. I had the opportunity to attend the World Economic Forum at Davos recently. And that experience was humbling as it was enlightening. While there were plenty of very exciting conversations that I happened to witness and hear, what was sadly apparent was that Pakistan was on the periphery and largely irrelevant for these discussions. We did not figure in the grand dialogues of technology that are happening globally. I think it has been mentioned before, and it will probably be a theme of the morning and afternoon, that we've been content with adopting innovations and we have not endeavored to be creators. This year's theme in Davos was about rebuilding trust and emphasizing technology's role in fostering transparency and accountability. At Jazz, this philosophy is core to our mission as well. We are committed to harnessing Pakistan's digital future and digital solutions to improve the lives and livelihoods of Pakistanis, but also as market leader in the operator, our weak position on the technology spectrum is quite evident. We must also critically assess our priorities. It is currently able to sustain the growth that 5G promises. We've heard from as an operator, heavy taxation on smartphones, free this progress. While there has been gratefully on IT exports, we need to sustain this growth momentum. It's very continue to support not just the IT and telecoms industries, but all the ancillary. On another note, a large part of the discussions in Davos focused on that it's not just about fairness, it actually makes very sound economics. 7% men, and only 27%. All of us gathered here today need to work. Ladies and gentlemen, let us pledge today to envision and deliver a path that includes every Pakistani, especially women, on this journey. I commend others, and I think most importantly, a segment that we often forget, who are challenging the status quo. Those people really are growing stronger for us.
To be within the time given, I'll just talk about 3-4 subjects that are more knowledgeable than me. First of all is on behalf of the regulator as PTA, assure the telecom industry and everybody around that on the direction of MOIT, especially with the kind courtesy of the minister, we are always available for any support which is required to telecom industry. So I believe, and I mean it, we are there to facilitate the telecom industry. Any policy hurdle, any framework, if you think it is delaying your business, we are available for open discussion. Please do come. We can request the MOIT, the ministry. Together we can work for Pakistan. So on behalf of PTA, let me assure you once again, we are there to facilitate you along with the MOIT. Second, I think it is very pleasing and heartening that today we have almost 35 licenses manufacturing mobile in Pakistan, and I think more than 40% are smartphone, probably 45%. Overall, I'm talking not specific to Techno or some other company. They are manufacturing the smart mobile today in Pakistan. It's very heartening, I think, and we should own made in Pakistan, anything which is made in Pakistan. We are facilitating the industry, and I think their concerns, it's not only to manufacture Pakistan for the Pakistan people, we have to ensure the export of these sets as well. And this is a kind of a low-hanging fruit, I think. The ministry and the government should encourage them to ensure the export, and I think what Paracha was referring to, we will be able to earn revenue in very short span of time. I think this is an area we need to look into that aspect. And once again, the manufacturer industry, we are always available for any support that as a regulator we can do that. Just a word regarding the 5G. People do talk about, early referred to the 5G. Paracha did mention. With the patronage of the MOIT, acceptable to both sides, I think we can improve the quality of service in Pakistan and the accessibility to Pakistan. We do talk of the IT export and the software and freelance, but the basic engine is the telecom. So we should understand and realize that unless we provide connectivity to the people of Pakistan in the remote areas, how can we improve or we can increase the export of IT? So in that field we are working. We have brought a number of, with the kind courtesy of the ministry and the government, bringing some new frameworks, some regulation to facilitate the telecom industry so that this connectivity is available to all. So we are working on that field as well. The right of way issue almost addressed maximum. So that was an area where it was a hurdle. Again, we are working on the 5G, which I mentioned. We brought the various framework like the active spectrum sharing. We are working on that framework. So there are some of the areas where I am sure you will come to know within months that the MOIT very aggressively follow those frameworks so that we facilitate the telecom industry. The only one last request to the telecom industry is where you think there is, again, I will repeat, any regulatory framework where it's create problem to you, where it delays your business, we are always available to negotiate with you, to discuss with you. And the PTA as a regulator, our doors are open to you to come and discuss with you. Once again, I would like to thank you, those who started this idea, brought the entire industry together over here for the mobile manufacturing. I think it is the future of Pakistan. We should work together for the betterment of Pakistan. Thank you so much once again, everybody, and we are always available, PTA, to help you.
So I wanted to be part of this once you have something tangible to share. And Anwar Kabir and everyone else timed it perfectly. This is a sector, this is an industry that is very important for Pakistan's economy and the challenges that it faces. The telecom sector in Pakistan is 191 mobile subscribers. Now you can be excused for thinking that this is a country that's too small for big international players to come and grow. But 191 million cellular subscribers is the 7th largest market in the world. Just the number of broadband users in Pakistan is more than the entire population of Canada. Just the number of social media users in Pakistan is more than the entire population of many countries in Europe. This is not a small market. This is a country with huge potential. And Ali Nasir, I don't know whether he's still here or has left, I really like his speech because he said we can do better. Of course we can do better. You look at a country of the scale of Pakistan, mostly young people, educated, urbanized. You look at the adoption of technology in Pakistan. You look at our exports, they don't line up. We only export, $32 billion worth of goods and services. We could be doing a lot more in this country. And this could be the beginning of that. Many years ago, I took a short course at Harvard, and as part of their case study, they presented Pakistan as a country which has a lot of potential in manufacturing, but has not been able to progress as well as it should based on this potential. Our industry, almost cottage industry in fan manufacturing, out of a whole belt in Gujranwala, Gujarat, etc., has not been able to progress to a point that they've become an export-oriented industry. We used to be a very large producer of medical equipment. That has eroded over the years. Our textile has not grown as much as we could. And we have totally untapped potential of the electronics industry. There is very little electronics that gets manufactured in this country. It's not just electronics, also products like fiber optics. For the local huge demand, but also export potential. But what has happened is in the last 3 years or so, there's been good work in this sector. There was a very good policy that was brought in for local handset manufacturing. And I've actually written down all the things that we've done for them. And there are things that we promised that we couldn't do, but let me at least start out with the things that we've done for them. The handset manufacturing industry has made so far, from what I can tell, there are various numbers that I got reported this morning, but about 57 million phones that have been locally manufactured. That's a very large number. Considering that our domestic demand is only 25 million phones per year. So a large fraction of the local demand could be met by local handset manufacturers. And these are not just manufacturers with local brands. There are, I'm told, more than 35 international brands that are beginning to either manufacture or explore this market. We certainly want to be able to meet our domestic demand through locally assembled handsets. For this, the government has given a lot of incentives to the industry. Some we promised and not delivered, but many that have already been put into play. If you're a handset manufacturer in Pakistan, there is a zero regulatory duty for CKDs and SKDs in the country. If you're a handset manufacturer in Pakistan, there's a zero fixed income tax on CKDs and SKDs mobile devices of 2, 3 and 50 dollars. If you're in Pakistan, there's a zero fixed sales tax on CKDs and SKDs manufacturing. You're also exempt from the 4% withholding tax on domestic sales. These are all the things that the government thought of about 3 years ago and passed on to local handset manufacturers. And as one of the speakers said, they are now able to meet a very large fraction of the domestic demand. Demand 25 million handsets, produced 61 million handsets in 2021 and about 24 million in 2022. The total handset manufacturing industry can actually be a very large fraction of the domestic demand. But the real benefit of this industry when they would be able to export these phones in a globally competitive market. Currently, the phones that are produced in Pakistan, their average value is about 15,000 rupees. These are 2G and 3G phones used by the mass. So the question is, what can we do in adoption of high-end phones, production of high-end phones, and export of phones from Pakistan? For this, the government promised but didn't deliver on a 3% R&D allowance. I'm happy to report that they've now agreed finally, officially, that a 3% R&D allowance that we long promised to the handset manufacturing industry will be given to them before the end of this fiscal year. This 3% would eventually increase to 8%, which would be very comparable to just the regional policies that we have. India exports about $10 billion worth of exports every year. We've just been told that Vietnam exports $60 billion worth of phones. Thailand is a great example for a for electronics manufacturing industry. Many years ago, Thailand started assembling laptops domestically, but also for the regional market. But the government had a great, which means you can assemble electronics using SKDs and CKDs, but you must manufacture some of the components in the country. And Thailand did the same for laptops. Now, if you bought a laptop, it comes from anywhere in the world, but you should know the hard disks embedded in the laptop produced in Thailand. Policy where they encouraged local manufacturers to not just assemble the hardware, but also specialize in locally produced now. So therefore, alongside this 3% subsidy for handset manufacturers, up to 8% next fiscal year, we also need to do two important things. One, local deletion, which means that the sunset clause for a few years, some components, some manufacturers in Pakistan. Two, potential, which as many. What's going to be is you put in R&D allowance that we had long promised you but never gave you, ready to be given out to the handset manufacturers so that they become domestically. The government has agreed on a sum of money that gave third quarter this year and then the rest of the quarter. Two, for you to, as part of that deal, also have a local deletion policy with a sunset clause, which means that in the next X number of years, you must be producing some locally manufactured components that go into these smartphones. These are not just CKDs and SKDs that get imported and manufactured here. And three, that we give you some tariff differential so that for the market it makes more sense to manufacture it locally as opposed to import it. Having said this, the other industry that is equally important for Pakistan but often overlooked is the fiber manufacturing industry. Now, unknown to us in many ways, this industry is also flourishing. And wherever I go, to Saudi, to Qatar, anywhere in the Middle East, I meet manufacturers and exporters. The industry has made the fiber optic manufacturers 1.34 million kilometers of fiber cable in Pakistan, which is fantastic. And they've exported about 10% of that, which is 130,000. And from what we see regionally, Neom City, Qatar, GCC region, Africa, there's a huge demand for low-cost fiber. Now we have 4 companies that are manufacturing fiber locally, their capacity of production is about 10,000 kilometers. Now that's also an industry for which we must come up with R&D allowance. We must come up with some incentive and subsidies through which they can grow and globally compete. And that's an industry that's certainly been on my agenda for a long time now. And inshallah ta'ala, in the next month or so, you would hear our policies to support the fiber optic manufacturing industry in Pakistan. Now, Pakistan is also going through a transition in terms of its telecom landscape. We have 4G in this country, but rarely beyond the 15-20 cities, large cities that we go to. There are many reasons for this. One, lack of adequate spectrum for the telecom industry. The entire telecom industry at this point, telecom operators, share 273 megahertz of spectrum. Compare that to a single telecom operator in a country like Australia, for instance, where a single operator has more than 350 megahertz of spectrum. Now, if this commodity was in short supply, I would understand that. But as we speak, the government has 600 megahertz of unutilized spectrum that we must free up and give to the telecom industry. It would almost double their capacity, could also triple their capacity. What we have done in the last 4 months is to make sure that we at least make 300 megahertz of that spectrum available for an auction. This is a technology neutral spectrum, which means starts at 700 megahertz and goes all the way up to 3.5 gigahertz. Of course, there are parts of this spectrum that are very amenable to a 5G rollout. So what we are going to do is 3 things. We have already allocated 300 megahertz now for an auction for the telecom industry. We will hopefully, and this is in partnership with the telecom industry, also the regulators, as well as the Ministry of IT, come up with a policy of spectrum auction that doesn't front load it. We don't treat it as an asset that needs to be unlocked in terms of value on day one. If we made that mistake, the telecom operators would largely just be forced to invest in the spectrum to remain competitive, but would not have the money to invest in the infrastructure, handsets, and wider rollout of something like 4G, 5G. So at this point, everyone in the government is aligned that we must take a forward-looking view. We make this 300 megahertz immediately accessible to the telecom industry. Immediately in this case is July, August is the timeline. But once we decide that we are able to auction the spectrum, we make the policy such that the spectrum is not linked to dollars. The money can be spread out over many years, and we keep the payment terms such that while they invest in the spectrum, they also invest in the telecom infrastructure. Otherwise, we'll again find ourselves in a situation where 4G or 5G accessibility would only be limited to large cities because there won't be a business case to spread it beyond that. 2, we have 56,000 cellular towers in Pakistan. We didn't have an infrastructure sharing policy, so every telecom operator was forced to essentially set up their own infrastructure. We have now, with our member telecom leading this initiative with PTA, we now have an infrastructure sharing policy in place, which means that at least infrastructure can be shared across telecom operators, which will lower your cost of doing business. Shortly, we'll also be working on an active spectrum sharing policy, which means that you'll be able to share the radio networks that you use for your subscribers also. That would also help you lower the costs. And 3, we have been working very hard on a national fiberization policy. Of the 56,000 towers that we have in Pakistan, only about 6,000 to 7,000 are fiberized. We have one of the lowest ratios of fiber to home or fiber to curb in Pakistan. Pakistan has at this point 164,000 kilometers of fiber laid out. We need another 200,000. The question is, and it is largely the onus of the government, the question is why are the ISPs not rolling out the fiber? It is of course because of poor policy and incentivization that we failed to put in over several years. So what we've done now is that we now have a national fiberization policy ready with us, where the rates for right-of-way are standardized. The appropriate government is notified, which means that you know who to go to seek permission, whether you are using railways land or NHA's land or you're laying fiber in Naskri or DHA or any one of these the housing societies or infrastructure that government owns. So there is appropriate government now notified. So there will be one office that you need to go to seek permission. We have standardized and massively reduced the rates for laying fiber. What used to be something like 3.7 million rupees for one-time cost for crossing a railway crossing has come down to 1 million. So about 300% lowering of fees have happened within this policy. So whether you're now crossing a railway crossing, laying your fiber across the railway track, you're laying your fiber in NHA or in Punjab or Sindh or Balochistan or KP, there will be standardized policies, standardized rates across board. And what we want to be able to do is now expand the layout of fiber from 164,000 kilometers, what we currently have, to another 200,000 kilometers. We need to fiberize these towers. We need to make sure that we wean them off of these low bandwidth, dedicated microwave channels. We do an infrastructure sharing, so this microwave connectivity can be shared, but we also give you a low cost backhaul. That would come from one, incentivizing layout of fiber through national fiberization policy, supporting and incentivizing fiber production in Pakistan, which is already beginning to happen, and finally to embrace a forward-looking space policy. As you're aware, the world has moved on very quickly from geostationary satellites, which is what we used to have when we read textbooks in college, to satellites, which has become a reality. Companies like Starlink and others now have thousands of low orbit satellites, which means they can be used for backhaul communication and data connectivity, not just for broadcast. The cabinet has just approved a space policy, Pakistan's first space policy, which will open the door for private players with low orbit satellites to come in and offer connectivity solutions in Pakistan. I believe there's a lot of domestic demand for that also, but what would really benefit is enterprise. With a $50 per month, 200 MB low orbit satellite data connectivity, it would transform the way you currently do backhaul for your cellular infrastructure. At this point, you are confined to using microwave links, which are also dedicated because we didn't have spectrum sharing. With spectrum sharing, you can share those microwave links to connect your backhaul towers, but also with a low orbit satellite connectivity, inshallah ta'ala, you would also get low cost backhaul through low latency, low orbit satellite technology. That should also happen, I'm expecting sometime in March. The first private player would enter the Pakistan market because of this new space policy that we've done, and you will get to connect your cellular towers, not by laying fiber, which would take some time, but also using low orbit satellite backhaul, which goes into play hopefully in March. We are hoping you will get another additional 300 megahertz as the telecom industry starting July and August. And I do hope that the telecom industry wholeheartedly participates in the auction that we're going to do. I've already told you that we are very aware and sensitized to how we price this, how this is rolled out, to take a longer term view of promoting 5G and 4G accessibility in this country and not trying to unlock the value on day one. I think the government is largely aligned around that too. With our low orbit satellite space policy, you'll get a low cost backhaul for the cellular towers, and with our national fiberization policy, you will get facilitation to now lay fiber from 164,000 kilometers to at least 300,000 kilometers in the next year or two to come. We have also mandated USF, the Universal Service Fund, to, instead of funding one-off projects, actually be part of the national fiberization policy. The government needs to invest in shared telecom infrastructure. If you face an issue laying your duct or fiber or being able to lay a fiber for every operator, why can't USF come in and give you a ready-made infrastructure which you can all leverage? That is now being part of their mandate. As you know, USF is sitting on something like 67 billion rupees right now. That's good money that can be plowed in to promote fiberization of the country. And I think that's inshallah going to happen also in months to come. You already know it's